we've got the speed. We're running wide open on a midsummer breeze. Freshwater, saltwater, watch out, boys. Bass Daddy Don's gonna make some noise. It's me and the boys gonna shake, rattle, and...
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm Don McDowell. Welcome to the Sunday edition of Shake, Rattle, and Troll In-House. With me, as always, is the president of the United Hungarian
Gypsy
Foundation.
Federation,
President of ADA. Jennifer's in there pushing buttons, and we have some special guests today. We have a couple of, I'm going to call them chaps.
Oh, brother.
From the Arizona National Guard, Command Sergeant Major James Denton from the 158th Infantry Battalion, and Sergeant Jason Fritz. I want to thank you guys for coming down and playing along with us today. We're not going to be talking about the Guard. We're going to talk about elk hunting, deer hunting. Do you hunt, Jason?
I do not. Actually, I'm still waiting for you to take me down.
Please remove him from the premises now.
Well,
depending on what we're hunting.
Nice seeing you again. Okay. Anyway, Command Sergeant Major, welcome to Shake, Rattle, and Troll.
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an awesome pleasure to have you guys down here. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of the 158th and all the National Guard guys over there and all the good stuff you do. Jason, we've got some issues on the table. Aerial gunning, or setting helicopters down in southern Arizona.
I'm all in favor of it. Aerial gunning is a fun way to do things. Oh, you're talking about...
Do they have to have a NEPA?
No, they do not. It's public. It's not public land. It's private land. Those are private ranches they're doing the aerial gunning on coyotes on. Yeah.
Rumor has it, Forest Service says, no, you're not landing a helicopter.
Oh, you're talking about the other one. Well, that's the outfitter, James.
Oh, there's
Stephen
all
Ward.
kinds of things going on.
Oh, yeah. We've got two issues with helicopters, one of which is landing. And quite frankly, the Coronado doesn't want them to land because people are screaming about them getting into wilderness areas. They're doing drops because you can't have access to over, I think it's like 300,000 acres of public land are landlocked because people who own 20 to 40 acres have blocked off the areas that they want to get into because they're on a county road and they have gates. And if you can't get past the gate, you're not getting into the wilderness areas.
Well, I've dealt with that several times.
Yeah. So anyway, Stephen Ward is an outfitter, and what he's decided to do is he hired a helicopter guy, and you know, usually it's pretty outrageous, but he's got a guy who for $300 to drop off and $300 to pick up, he was dropping people into that area. They weren't hunting from this at all, but he was dropping them into the Coronado, and then they were dispersing for their hunts. They were past the area that they had to be. You've got a road that nobody else can go on except you or whoever is the rancher's friends. And so he was setting them up on base camps doing that, and then they would take off and hunt from there.
I'm not sure, but isn't that what we're doing in Afghanistan?
I'm not sure what we're hunting over there.
I know there was some outstanding fishing in Baghdad. I'll tell you a real quick story. When the troops took Baghdad the first time, we were here, and we were praising the troops for doing what they did, and I just made an offhanded remark that, gee, what a great opportunity for a boat store, a tackle shop, and the emails started flowing, and I had no idea that we had the listening audience in theater that we did. We were sending combo rods and reels, terminal tackle, sunblock, lip balm, handy wipes, and what's the power bait? Berkeley
power bait, yeah.
So there's because those were Hussein's fish. Those were the king's fish. Now they belong to everybody. So it's cool.
Well, that's good. That means they can find a way to eat.
Good stuff. Wow. Let's get a little bit of history. One of the things that we try to do here is put all the good stuff that the Arizona National Guard does do out there in front of the public. And I have to tell you, the muster, I've never seen so many troops so well behaved anywhere. It was incredible.
Well, that was something that it's been in the works now for, I think, well over a year. So being a part of it made me very proud to be a member of the National Guard, to have a muster and to see all of our fellow soldiers there. I thought that it was a important time here for Arizona.
Yes, I agree. It was. I think I saw Governor-elect Ducey in the audience, and I just got to peek over a little bit because we had a little thing going over at the expo with the Coast Guard Auxiliary and the truck and the bass boat, and doing some of the things we do. But I think it's really important, talk about the Bushmasters a little bit, if you don't mind.
Oh, I'd love to talk about the Bushmasters. Are you kidding me? It'd be great.
Well, let's start at the beginning.
That's the most interesting history I've ever read about a unit. Seriously.
Yeah, it's just incredible.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it's a huge honor to be the command sergeant major of an infantry battalion, but to be the CSM of the 1st of 158th Infantry Bushmasters is just a huge honor. A lot of history here in Arizona. I mean, basically almost every unit here in Arizona on the Army side can tie its lineage back to this regiment. Back in 1865 when they became the first volunteer infantry here in Arizona. So it's a unit that it's fought in almost every major campaign here in the United States. I mean, the first unit was made up of Hispanics and Pima Indians. I mean, they were just a kind of a ragtag bunch that was put together to help take care of the individuals that were living here, the settlers that were living here, and to fight against obviously the Indian Wars in 1865 to 1870. So, and then from there, obviously we've all heard, if you're from Arizona, Bucky O'Neill. I mean, he's
absolutely,
absolutely. Well, he was one of the captains that was 2 officers and about 117. Soldiers were attached to or assigned to President, or now, at that time, it was just Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. So people don't know a lot about that, but for those individuals to actually, right here from Arizona, they were the first volunteer cavalry, Arizona Cavalry. They were attached to Teddy Roosevelt. Bucky O'Neill, unfortunately, was killed in the Battle of Santiago, killed by a sniper. But obviously, I believe he was the sheriff of Prescott. Back in the day, so just to have that history and to continue that on to today and to be in kind of the keeper of that tradition with the 1st of 158th is just a huge honor.
Absolutely, it is. I'm going to have to check our family history. There was a Captain McDowell. We have the McDowell Mountains in Fort McDowell.
Mm-hmm.
Cavalry officer decided to go out and pick on the Indians out there. Let's just say that was a bad mistake.
You don't want to do that.
No. I don't know if he was involved with the 158 or not, but I'm going to check today.
I'm sure you could probably find out.
I'm going to. It's actually kind of embarrassing, but Fort McDowell, do the math. I don't know. Oh, wow. So how long have you been the Command Sergeant Major?
Well, I just took over as Command Sergeant Major in September. I was the Battalion Operations Sergeant Major, so I did a lot of the planning and the resourcing for the battalion for the last 3 years.
Wow.
And then it was a huge honor to be selected to be the Command Sergeant Major. To me, as an infantryman, as an enlisted infantryman, your pinnacle of your career is to be the Command Sergeant Major of an infantry battalion. I mean, as a private, of course, when I saw the Command Sergeant Major, I walked the other way, right? I did not want to have anything to do with the Command Sergeant Major. If he was coming down the road, I was hanging
anywhere
left or right.
Where he was
exactly,
going.
Because it seems like, I don't know if it's just inherent, but something happens in our mind when you become a Sergeant Major. You start seeing all the small things that are wrong with soldiers, right? All the things, everything. Are their boots, are their pants bloused properly? Do they have a proper haircut? All the things just start rolling in your mind. I believe people believe that they do something to us when we become a Sergeant Major. So
they do.
I can identify with some of that.
Don't go there. Look at your hair. You are still wearing a mullet, for God's sake, man.
I just got a haircut a week and a half ago.
Which one?
Okay, 2
Which
weeks
one?
ago.
Stop.
I was with Sergeant Fritz and came out of the latrine, opened up the hallway door, and oh my God, Colonel Waddington was standing there. I didn't know what to do, say, wipe my boots off, kind of tuck my hair up under my hat, didn't have a hat. Yeah, I get that. Do you get that?
I do still. That day I actually talked to him for about 5 minutes right before you walked through, and I told him about you, and, hey, sir, can I have 5 minutes of your time?
Oh, man.
Because he's the commander of the recruiting and retention over there, and just a great leader. He's really going to do great things over there in recruiting. I'm pretty excited for them. And at that muster, when I was there, I was in the stands, and I was getting goosebumps, because I'm looking at what we're a part of and just seeing all the troops on the field, and I was getting goosebumps. It was awesome. Yeah. I was like, I'm not alone, There's all of us out there at once, and it was quite a good event, It
was pretty amazing. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. We were here when they were landing the helicopters in that small, confined space. Did you get to see it before they chased you off?
No. I didn't see hardly anything.
Well,
do you know how hard it was to park because you guys all took all the parking spots? I went all the way down to Carson.
Here's the reality.
And they wouldn't let me in there.
They had bomb-sniffing dogs, and he's driving a Prius.
Never mind. Enough said.
So we're just going to let that go wherever it goes. Hey, we're going to stand down and thank some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to continue with the Arizona National Guard and the 158th Infantry Battalion. I am Don McDowell, and you are?
Special K.
I'm Command Sergeant Major Denton.
Specialist Fritz.
There you go. We'll be right back.
You sound a little different when the preacher man says it's the end of time, and the Mississippi River, she's a going dry. The interest is up and the stock market's down, and you're only getting mugged if you go downtown.
Well, I have an answer for that. If that's the case, do not go downtown.
Don't go downtown.
6-1 away and 45 the next. Go figure. Anyway, we're visiting with Command Sergeant Major Denton and Sergeant Fritz from the Arizona National Guard 158th Infantry Battalion. And, the history of the 158 is just amazing. I had no idea it went back to 1865. And I don't even know how long we were a territory. So we were just out here in the West, kind of hanging out.
I am not a historian here of Arizona, but I can tell you, I believe it was a territory at that time.
Yeah, it was. I'm going to have to look, yeah.
But, basically, I believe that they were brought to, obviously, was to protect the settlers here of Arizona.
Sure.
And then, obviously, as we move closer, the regiment also was part of World War I. They went over as part of the 40th Infantry Division for World War I. They were assigned as President Woodrow Wilson's Honor Guard. And then our band, which was at that time, it's now the 108th Army Band, but it was the 158th Regimental Combat Team Army Band, was President Wilson's official band for the treaties in 1918. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So from there, really, the unit itself began to muster up in Flagstaff, and I believe you're from Flagstaff. We talked about that the other day. So
Fort Tutt Hill.
Fort Tutt Hill.
Then there was an armory up on the hill right by Clark Homes in City Park.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, well, the regimental headquarters is still there. That's where they hold that's on the county fairgrounds now, and that's where they hold the fair every year up in Flagstaff. Well, that was the regimental headquarters. So if you were to look at it from a military perspective, and you were to go up there and see it, you could see where the hospital or the infirmary was, where the regimental headquarters was, and so that's where they trained from. I believe it was from 1927 to about 1938 or 39.
Now, how much of that was out at Belmont? What now is Camp Navajo?
Now that didn't come into play until about 1941.
Yeah, that was World War II issue.
Correct. Yes, but they had to train somewhere because obviously it's so hot here in Arizona in the summertime. They had to muster together to do all their training. Well, the place to do it was up there in Flagstaff, and that's the piece of land that they picked out. And they're still building. Obviously, all the buildings are still there, and they did all their marksmanship, all their maneuver training, and they came together as a regiment. There was 3 battalions here in Arizona. It was the 158th Infantry Regiment, and there was 3 battalions, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Okay, so but they were spread out all over the state, and of course, they came together during World War II, and they, in 1941, they went to Panama, and they were part of the security force there to protect the canal zone, but they were also training in jungle warfare. So they were the first unit to train in jungle warfare in Panama, which then became the Jungle Warfare Training Center, okay, which stayed all the way till about, maybe 1998 or 99.
That's where the Bushmaster designation came in, too.
That's
41, right?
That's correct, yeah. They kind of developed, obviously, the famed Bushmaster snake in Panama, of course, wrapped around the jungle machete, which then later became their unit patch, which was obviously feared throughout the Pacific, okay, in World War II. So, I mean, this is the lineage, and then so for that, General MacArthur. Again, I'm not the perfect historian here, but based on what I know, General MacArthur requested them specifically because they had jungle warfare training. So he wanted them attached to him to help take back and start doing that island hopping to get back, and obviously, to complete his promise of going back to the Philippines and recapturing it.
So there was heavy influence in the Philippines?
Absolutely,
Boy,
yeah.
that was ugly.
Oh, it was, yeah. Luzon, the regimentals campaigns, their battle streamers obviously are New Guinea, New Britain Island, New Guinea, like I said, the Philippines, all over the Philippines. There's many different amphibious landings. I mean, they were in a combat zone for 5.5 years.
That was a bloody mess down there.
Yeah, but that's where they kind of gained their fame as the Bushmasters.
Wow,
that's where the logo came from.
Good
back
stuff.
in 1941.
And who was your dad attached to? You remember?
Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Was he a Bushmaster? Or?
No, he was in Germany.
Okay,
he was in Battle of the Bulge, private.
Oh wow,
yeah, during the wintertime.
Yeah, no, I just think that's that group, just the greatest. When they say the greatest generation, which I believe, we also have a greatest generation now.
We do.
Being at war since 2001, but I just, my great uncle was also he was D-Day +4 or something like that. Jake, he was a tank killer. Mm-hmm. And all the way from Normandy into Germany. I just think those guys are just absolutely awesome.
Well, Mr. Cullers I told you the other day about the fishing event we had with all the theaters represented. Mm-hmm. He was our WW2 guy.
Yep. He finally got to go out fishing for a day, which he thoroughly loved.
Well, he should have won automatically.
He did.
He won a prize.
Yep.
For his division, he won a prize.
That's good.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we had a great time, and that's when Master Sergeant Dyer was acting up on the boat and dropped his fish in the... But I'm just going to let it go.
We let that alone.
Yeah. So that'll be a day he will never forget.
Well, I'll have to remind him of that when I see him. So
please do.
Yeah, he's a heck of an NCO.
Yeah, the fishing event was just awesome, and the look on his face was absolutely priceless when he dropped that fish. Plunk.
Oh, not good.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's good stuff. How many troops do you have under your command currently?
Well, we have 830 is what the regiment or the battalion has right now, 1st Battalion. But that includes our forward support company, which is Gulf Company, 29th BSB. So we have roughly 830 soldiers. Some of those are in different levels of training, and then our battalion is actually a maneuver battalion for the 29th Infantry Brigade Combat Team out of Hawaii. So we kind of serve, we work with two different units. We work with our higher headquarters, our go-to-war unit, which is the 29th IBCT out of Hawaii. And then we have, obviously, the Arizona Army National Guard. So
all the other companies, you guys are the heartbeat. How many troops are actually supporting the 158?
Well, as an infantryman, we always say everybody supports us.
Well, I get that. That's why I'm asking the question. Yeah.
But we have obviously we've got here in Arizona alone. We obviously work very closely with 1st and 2nd Battalion of the 285th Aviation.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we love to as an infantryman, you're either walking, flying, or driving. We prefer we like to walk, right? But let me get a read on that. Jason, you like walking?
Sergeant Major right here. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, sir.
Great
Okay,
answer.
great.
But hey, listen, we'll never turn down a ride. I'm not going to lie to you, okay?
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. Okay. Oh, man. Great answer. You're
Very
going to be
quickly
mayor
done.
one day. You
Nice.
are absolutely
I'm one of the
gonna be
ones that
mayor.
goes right or goes left right now.
Yeah, boy.
Sorry, baby.
Get in the back of the truck. Hey, we're going to stand down. Thanks some of our sponsors. Hey, and if you need a ride, you'll find it over at I-17 in West Camelback Road. Yep, Bill Luke Dodge since 1927. We'll be right back. All righty, we're back. Couple of questions. We were talking about different modes of transportation. The 285th has been fairly active in the. I guess my question is, how many troops have we got from the Arizona over to theater at this point?
Well, I'm probably not the person to ask on that.
I know we had some guys in Kuwait.
I know we
an
do.
engineering battalion, I believe they were.
The engineers are back now.
Are
yeah,
they?
they've been
Okay.
back for a little while. Everything is so fluid right now with what's happening over there. I mean, the
Crazy.
public affairs office is the one who keeps track of that. I mean, I've got 830 soldiers I'm trying to track down.
And Jason.
Yes, that's 831. So, I'm trying to keep track of
One
them.
thing I learned about him, Command Sergeant Major, he is not an individual. He is a whole group of people.
Yes, he is.
So, okay.
He is. Listen, I've known him for quite a while, and I'm glad he's back in our battalion.
You betcha.
I'm glad he's back to being a bushmaster. That's where he came in as a bushmaster. And to me, once you're a bushmaster, you're always a bushmaster.
Can't get rid of it.
No, it's just the lineage. I mean, I'm just so proud and so honored to be not only a part of the unit, but to be their CSM is just something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life, and I want to just maximize it. I count the days. I mean, it's one of those things where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I've got one less day to do what I want to do at the battalion.
Wow.
And I just think it's such a huge honor, especially for a guy. Listen, I was a private. I came in the Army as a private. I had no idea that I would ever be, a command sergeant major. It was just trying to get through one day at a time and how to learn how to be in the Army.
When did you start?
Thank you, John.
Well, I joined the Army in August of 1985. So I actually enlisted as a military police officer initially because I wanted to pursue a career I wanted to be a police officer, right? But then I saw this commercial, right? The one that you saw back in the 80s, right?
Going back to marketing.
Be all you can be, right? And I
Oh,
see
yeah,
this guy.
I remember that, yeah.
Well, then I saw this infantry commercial, and I thought to myself, that's what I want to do. And I went back and talked to the recruiter, and he's like, you want to do what? And I'm like, well, I'd really like to be an infantryman. He's like, not going to be a problem. We can make that happen for
Oh,
you.
yeah. I think we can. We have one spot left.
Today,
How
today
bad
only.
did he
Good
fight
for
on
you.
that
Yeah.
one, boys?
So,
See the recruiter walking back going, I can't believe it. Somebody wanted to be an infantry. Hot damn.
That's exactly what happened. I mean, I'm sure he was smiling
Oh,
inside
yeah.
when that happened, So I'm like, can we make this happen? He's like, not going to be an issue. He goes, don't worry about it. So next thing I know, I find myself in Harmony.
All you had to do was start reeling.
Yeah.
that was it. I mean, I was it. I mean,
That's hook, line, and sinker right there. Bam. Gotcha.
that was totally, that's just exactly what happened. Next thing I know, I find myself in Harmony Church, which is at Fort Benning, Georgia, which it sounds very nice, right? Harmony Church. And then you realize that it's, it's the old World War II barracks, but it just totally shaped my experience. So I've been in really on active duty for 28 years. So I spent over 9 years in the Army, and then I'm from Arizona originally. I wanted to come back here and worked my way back here, and I've been active duty ever since with all different kinds of jobs, armor units, artillery units, infantry units, recruiting. I was in recruiting for several years.
He seems to have left the hot spots immediately prior to them hitting the news.
Which areas are those?
What was it? The recruitment?
They were having some issues.
They had some issues, and then prior to that, was the
down in Tucson.
Tucson? Were you part of that at all?
I was not part of. No, I was not part of that.
No, okay. Well misspoke. Thank you.
Well, listen, I would just say this. There's been a lot of things out there, okay? And I will tell you that we have really good soldiers. We have really good airmen here in the National Guard. And, of course, it's one bad apple can spoil the barrel, and that's what we hear about. But I will tell you, we have really good soldiers and really good airmen that have that make a huge commitment.
Absolutely.
I mean, these are, the cross-section of society who make a huge commitment to stay and to come to work and to drill 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks during the year. And again, that terminology is no longer the case. You don't just work 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. I mean, if you're a leader in the organization, you are working out of your house, you are talking to soldiers all the time, you are going to meetings, you have all different types of things happening. And I would tell you, 99.9% of the people that are in uniform are doing the exact right thing. There's always somebody not doing something wrong. And
here's the issue that we face all the time, and I try and remind everybody about it, and that is that a single individual in today's technology carries such a tremendous impact.
Oh, man.
Because everything is available with this little handheld camera recording device that everybody has now.
Absolutely.
The world 30 years ago, 40 years ago, nobody would have heard a single word about anything. But with the way we're captured today, I mean, there is no privacy. None right. Whatsoever.
Yep. Zero.
And I'm finding that, like, professional athletes, for a majority of them, they're really good guys. They start foundations. They do all kinds of wonderful things. But the guy who's a jerk is going to blemish the whole organization. And that's, the more front page you are, the more notoriety that you have, that's what you have to face. There is a level of behavioral expectations that is above and beyond anything of a, quote, normal person. Don and I, we can screw up all the time. And we do.
Oh, no.
We do it regularly.
We
would not want to have our lives, let's put it, registered the way
here
everybody else's is now.
Let me put this into perspective. I have a guy, Doug Stricker, that handles social media, and Patrick. I can't do that. I can't keep my mouth shut. It is what it is, and sometimes I feel obligated to tell him that. I have started wars on social media. And what John and I what he's talking about is if it's not going to look good in the paper, we're not going to do that.
We can't.
As much as we want to. It's like these wolves out running around. I want to go whack a wolf so bad I can't stand it. But I know that, that's a bad thing.
If we're out hunting, I had a guy who I was helping on one of the depredation hunts. And I was glassing for him, and he was up in the hills. And this was a February hunt, so it's depredation. And I heard a boom. I thought, oh, good, he finally got boom. I think boom. I heard 9 shots in a row, and so I finally called. It was Craig Neviker, and I called it. Oh yeah, I called, and then he said, well, he had dropped his rifle coming down the hill the night before. And his scope was dinged, but he thought it was still okay. It was centered. Well, and I get him on the phone, and he goes, well, he's finally down. I got a 5x5. I said, okay, good. Great. I'll start packing up the backpack, and I'll haul the frames up, and I'll meet you up there. He was okay. So I'm packing up the frames. 2 minutes later, get another phone call. He goes, I got a problem. I go, what's that? He goes, I got 2 bulls down. Uh-oh. He goes, what do we do? I said, I don't know what you're doing. I said, I'm calling Game and Fish right now.
I'm going home.
I'm the president of the Arizona Deer Association. I am not going to be part and parcel of anything like that. That's what we face all the time now. We are held to a standard that is, number one, as perfection as you can get. I mean, I've seen people who have gotten their licenses removed for littering in a camp area. I have to take extra special care all the time because I am in the face of the public on a regular basis, and he is 10 times worse than me.
You go head to head with one of the wood cops because you're 29 feet instead of 30 feet from the road. Move the trailer.
Yeah, it's the same thing in the military. I mean, we have to get back to, and we are working towards, it's a profession. And just like you have a profession, we have doctors, lawyers, we have, talk show hosts. All these things are professions, right? I mean, and that's where we are trying to do the same thing in the military. This is your profession. Treat it as if it's your profession, and always be cognizant of what you're doing, and just do the right thing. It's making that hard decision, is usually the right one, and what we call, the easy wrong versus the hard right.
Well, we've put a lot of effort in over the past few years supporting the Arizona National Guard, and we had a banner made. I sent you that banner. Did you see that the other day?
I did.
We had a banner made with, just a real easy statement, and we're still using that as ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And John and I work hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder with the Game and Fish Department, and I may have mentioned this to you. I wish the public could know the soldiers and the Game and Fish Department like we do. They're doing extraordinary things for us, for them, the public, John Q. public, and they don't get it. It's not out there.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You say that, but I will tell you, I think that you guys do so much for us. Not just you.
We're trying to.
I think this right now, there is so much support for the soldier and the airman. I mean, I cannot remember a time, obviously, where I just see so much support. I mean, the things that you guys do, coming out to the expo and being there and talking and just saying thanks to soldiers, that's what makes them feel good. And when you guys do that for us, it just gives us that inner fire to say, you know what we were doing is important. And we appreciate that.
It is important.
So I'm saying thank you.
You guys are the first responders right there. Even the Navy. We'll throw the Navy in there. You're right. Okay, well, kind of cool having a Navy guy in here. Look, when we come back, we're going to do roll call. It's going to be a little uncomfortable today, but some stuff you need to know about it. I'm Don McDowell here with
Specialist Fritz.
Command Sergeant Major Denton.
JK.
A.K.A. Special K from the ADA.
Else, and a man has got to do the best he can. Last night I heard this politician talking about his brand new mission. Liked his plans, but they came undone when he got around to guiding guns.
Alrighty, we're back. We're going to do something a little bit different today with roll call. We've got U.S. Air Force Tech Sergeant. I'm assuming you're retired now?
No, just a veteran.
Just a veteran. That's kind of like being retired.
Yeah. Not really.
Okay, you got three choices. Help me out with this. Command Sergeant Major, if you're a veteran, you've been
you get
demilitarized, like my truck. You've been kicked out, you've been retired, or you're just a guy.
I'm just a guy. I got out after 13 years.
God bless you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, single parent, 3 kids. Military doesn't do real well for you to be a single parent.
That's pretty tough duty right there. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Bob Dolphy, also a volunteer for the Navy Sea Cadets. How many Sea Cadets do you have under your...
We think we have about 60 to 65 here in Phoenix right now.
Holy cow.
And then in Arizona and New Mexico, which is where I really work, we've got about 150 right now.
Wow. Well, they all clean up pretty well.
Yeah, they do a good job.
They do well. We're going to do roll call today. Bob's here to help us with a friend that has passed, and I'm going to let him tell you about that. We still have a lot of soldiers in theater. Command Sergeant Major, what are you hearing about Camp Leatherneck? You have any idea when that place is going to be empty?
Camp Leatherneck? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either.
I believe I believe combat operations cease. Offensive operations cease on 31 December.
Right.
So after that would be a training and assistance mission.
Yeah, well, there was a big piece on Al Jazeera News of all people, interviewing soldiers over there that were still getting shot at while they're trying to dismantle, certain parts of the base.
Well, I mean, I would say this: they're still in danger.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
as long whether you're assigned to a training and assistance mission, whatever the case may be, they're still going to be in danger.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do roll call right now. I'm going to start off with the roll call for the December 14th. And we have Army Staff Sergeant Matthew R. Ammerman, died December 3rd, 2014, serving during Operation Enduring Freedom. The Staff Sergeant was 29 years old, out of Noblesville, Indiana, was assigned to the 3rd Battalion, 7th Special Forces Group at Elgin Air Force Base in Florida. He died on the 3rd in Zabul Province, Afghanistan, of wounds caused by small arms fire. Bob?
Petty Officer Second Class James Perry Sartain, Vietnam veteran, served on the USS Ticonderoga, passed away December 7th, 2014. Father of 5 children, 4 served in the military, 3 in the Navy, 1 in the Army. 14 grandchildren. Perry is probably better well known as the support staff for the replica of the USS Arizona. They do a fantastic job with that ship, him and his wife Wanda. Over the last 7 years, he spent a lot of time working on it, including having refurbished it 3 years ago. He passed away quickly, and we're all grateful for this, but he was a loving man who served his country, did Boy Scouts for almost 40 years, helped with the Sea Cadets for most of the last 20, helping his wife. Just an all-around great guy. He spent the last day on this planet helping out with the Pearl Harbor Remembrance Ceremony down at the Wesley Bowling Plaza with the ship. He was out talking to people, got home, and unfortunately he passed away quickly. Grateful for his service and grateful for what he's done for this country.
Thank you, Bob. That's it for this week. That's the price for freedom, folks. Something to think about. Certainly our thoughts and our heart and prayers go out to Staff Sergeant's family, his unit, and those soldiers he was fighting with in his Sartain family. I'm Don McDowell. Think about that. We'll be back.
It's time for the award-winning Shake, Rattle, and Troll. A show for the serious fishermen as well as the novice looking for tips from the pros. Shake, Rattle, and Troll, brought to you by Bill Luke Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. I-17 and Camelback Road since 1927.
We got the power, we got the speed. We're running wide open on a midsummer breeze. Freshwater, saltwater, watch out, boys. Bass Daddy Don's gonna make some noise. It's me and the boys gonna shake, rattle, and
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
We are back. Thanks for joining us for the second hour of Shake, Rattle, and Troll. If you're just now signing on or clicked on your computer for the internet feed, we have Command Sergeant Major Denton in here with Sergeant Jason Fritz from the 158th Infantry Battalion from the Arizona National Guard, giving us a little bit of a rundown on the stellar history of the Bushmasters of the 158th. And, man, thank you for doing that. And, one thing we did not do for both of you is thanking you for your service. It's just awesome.
Amen.
The commitment you guys made. And kind of reminds me of a story of the chicken and the pig that went to breakfast. You ever hear that?
No.
We're going to.
Okay. Well, they did. Well, this is my tie-in to the military. The chicken and the pig went down, to the restaurant. They sat down, and the waitress came around and asked the chicken, "Mr. Chicken, what would you like to have for breakfast?" He said, "I'd like to have a couple eggs, scrambled piece of toast, maybe a biscuit, and a nice thick ham steak." And the pig went ballistic. And the chicken's going, "What's the problem?" He said, "Look, the eggs for you are merely a contribution. The steak for me is a total commitment." And that's where you guys are. Right there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You are the ham steak of the nation right there.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I couldn't do it without my family. Just, obviously all the support that I get. My wife has been my biggest supporter. My kids. They know that they don't see me very often. So, the families out there are a huge commitment. Without them, these soldiers could not do what they do. Really, it takes, the family support at home for these soldiers to be able to deploy multiple times.
Absolutely.
So they have it much harder than we do. We kind of know what our mission is. They have to they got to pick everything up and take care of everything when when the service member's not home.
They have to react while you are out acting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I sit on the board of directors for the Military Families Foundation project. We remember with Vern Bagley that formerly he's not doing. By the way, you ask Voice of Veterans, he's standing down on that for a little while. And some of the stuff that we get involved with is just truly amazing, and I'm going to say sometimes pathetic of the issues and the problems, on the soldier family front. We pay a lot of utility bills and this and that, and try to keep these guys going, and it's a big deal. And
well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to do more. It's you can't ever do enough. Yeah, quite frankly. So.
I agree.
But anyway, we were talking about the history of the 158. Jason, you were deployed. Is that something you can share with us?
I was deployed in January of 2007 till about April of 2008 with the infantry battalion. I was in Charlie Company, went to Afghanistan, and it was a great. It's one thing putting the training that we do here, and then being overseas and putting it into action was just, it's something I'll never forget. The people I was there with, the soldiers I was there with, my comrades, it was awesome. It was a good experience.
Neat. Yeah.
I can share that.
Good stuff, yeah. Well, Vern and I are working on a deal. I shared this with you. We're trying to get, Putin kind of has this all screwed up. I don't know how Putin messes up my life, but he did. We're working on a program to take an Afghan Russian soldier and an Afghan U.S. soldier, put the politics aside, put a fishing rod in their hand, and take them fishing. World-class fishing in Russia. There are some German and that's the thing. They should call them Russian browns, but they're actually German browns in Russia. So maybe that's why he's pissed off. I don't know. But we're going to still try to do that. Vern was on the air with Voice of Russia, and about the time they went into Ukraine, they pulled the plug on the radio show, and they do that on me once in a while, so I get it. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about our Afghan action in Iraq over there, if you could, Command Sergeant Major.
Well, the regiment, or the battalion, I keep calling it the regiment, it's just because we are the 158th Infantry Regiment, even though we're the only battalion of the regiment at this time. But the battalion was mobilized. They were deactivated, 50s, 60s. They went through this time period where they went from being an infantry unit, from a separate infantry unit from a regimental combat team to a separate infantry unit, down to kind of reorganization, military police, some of the companies that used to be infantry, because remember, we had 3 battalions. We were an entire regiment. So some of those ended up becoming a transportation unit, field artillery, maintenance, all these different things. That's where all the lineage from the Guard ties itself back to us. But anyway, so there was a point where they rolled up the colors, they cased the colors, which is always a sad time for any unit. And then in 2006, they brought the unit back as a maneuver battalion for the 29th IBCT, which is to bring the unit back. And then to really immediately deploy them to Afghanistan and prepare them to go to Afghanistan is pretty much unheard of. This was what was once the 180th Field Artillery Battalion, reorganized into 1st Battalion 158th Infantry, brought back all that lineage, and then trained and deployed to a combat zone in 2007. They were in training for 3 months, boots on ground for 12 months. They came back. The last of them came back March, April of 2008, which is exactly when I was heading back over for the second time. So I didn't deploy with the battalion. I wished I would have. So anyway, so they deployed as part of a mission. It was called the PRT mission. It was a Provincial Reconstruction Team. So Afghanistan had, in every province, they had a Provincial Reconstruction Team, which would go out and help the government, help learn about government, help out with building schools, building roads, building wells. Well, they had all those. These were lot of these were civilian organizations, USAID. They had to be protected. Well, that's where the PRT missions came in. But we also had a maneuver platoon or a maneuver company that was also assigned, I think, to the 173rd. But they had their own maneuver space. So they were there for 12 months. All over the country. I mean, from the eastern zone to the western zone, all the way from Farah province, which is in the southwestern part of Afghanistan, all the way up to Asadabad, and which is in the eastern zone, where you can see Pakistan. You look out your back porch, and boom, there's Pakistan. So, which is
there's some more good news.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so I mean,
I wouldn't want to look out and see Pakistan.
And and when you see it, see it in pictures is one thing, but when you see it in face to face, which I've been to Asadabad, and it is just this massive mountain range, the southern part of the Hindu Kush, and it's just this, you're just like, oh my gosh, right, so anyway, so they were deployed all over the theater, and they did extraordinary things, and unfortunately they had 2 service members that were killed, which was Staff Sergeant Browning, and then also PFC Michael Miller, and who I've met his parents, Michael Miller's parents. We invited them to our dining out back in November as a guest of honor, and 2 really extraordinary young men. Staff Sergeant Browning had an extensive military history, and of course you have PFC Miller, who was just a young man, just starting his military career, but he obviously they had to pay the ultimate price.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to honor them as Bushmasters and just fine young men.
Since the conflict began, the last one, 2001, how many soldiers have we lost from the Guard?
Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's 7 National Guard members here in Arizona. We've had 2 from the infantry battalion. We've had several from the MPs, from the 860th and the 855 Military Police Company. The transportation, or one of the 259th Engineer Detachment had, I believe, 1 KIA, and then EOD also had 1 Sergeant Wong.
Wow.
Who was killed in Iraq.
Something to think about, folks. We're going to stand down. Thanks to some of our sponsors. We'll be back.
Well, I don't know, but I've been told there's something going on at the North Pole. Santa and his elves at a factory, dancing around the world's biggest Christmas tree. They're doing a Santa Claus boogie. Santa Claus boogie. It's a Santa Claus boogie. Santa Claus boogie. You gotta take
Santa Claus boogie. We're about a week early. All right, I'm good with it. It'll help me get in the spirit. Gotta go, do the
We need it.
hanging lights and chopping down trees. Got a new chainsaw. Woo, yeah. All righty, we're back. Thank you for that, Jennifer. That just kind of like a curveball. Command Sergeant Major, how much hunting have you done in Arizona?
Done a lot of hunting. It's right now, I guess my wife would be considered a widow, a hunting widow at this time. Okay, I mean, this is kind of when I get going, really, about September. I start scouting in this summer, and then for my archery hunts, and then obviously get into. I got shut out this year. I'm not going to lie to you. I had 3 tags.
Ooh.
And I got shut out. It just I had an archery antelope hunt where I just could not.
That's a tough hunt.
That's a tough.
Don't feel bad about that one with archery.
But it was a lot of fun. I did a lot of low crawling. Okay, I felt like I was using my infantry skills here. Right, you do a lot of low crawling. Had some great setups, but those mosquitoes just kicked my butt. I mean, they were just really bad up north this year. They had a lot of good rain and it just, every time I tried to get set in and thinking I'm going to close the deal, of course, you think they're moving your way, and then next thing you know, you look up and the doe's
they're 500 yards away.
They're going away. So I had a great time there. I got shut out on that hunt, and then I hate to say this too, because I hate not filming a tag. Right, it's just the worst thing in the world.
Don't worry about it.
And then I had an archery bull hunt in 4B. So I've killed a bull there before, so I kind of thought, I'd like to get back up in there. They're not huge bulls up in 4B, but usually get a nice 5x up in there.
Yeah, but there's some monsters up there.
I did.
You didn't see the 412 bull they took out of there 3 years ago?
No, I did not. I did not have a chance to see.
Phenomenal.
I had a great time. It's just I'm hunting by myself, which I think is I'm always behind the 8 ball on that one because you need to have somebody set up for you, and do some good calling. But I like to hunt by myself. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I'm thinking, Jason, if we teach Jason some of our trade, you get him out there with a couple sticks going, yo elk. Yo elk.
If I could just if I'd have known, he was would like to learn how to hunt, I would have brought him out there, taught him how to blow that cow call.
Phenomenal.
Okay.
We had him at a church camp out, and I want to tell you what, that was the best.
Well, I'm gonna teach him. I'm gonna give him. I'll give him some calls this year and let him teach him how to blow a cow call and maybe do some do some bugling for me. And then next year when I get drawn again, hopefully I
can
be
the company bugler.
Yeah.
You had me at cow call.
But yes, I do like to hunt. I love Arizona. I was born and raised here, so I grew up hunting. My father, obviously, and my grandfather. Taught me a lot about hunting and fishing and doing it the right way.
That's where that's where it begins.
Exactly, being an ethical hunter, and my father, he just taught me a lot. Of course, now I grew up hunting mule deer up in Unit 20B. That's the area that I grew up in. I mean, I'll never forget just opening day of mule deer, usually over. Halloween, right? I'd get out of school on that Friday. That was the one time my dad would take me out of school. Would be opening day of the mule deer.
We were just talking about that.
So yeah, I did a lot of hunting up there. My grandfather and my father and I and my brother spent a lot of time there. Up around Cleator, in between Cleator and Crown King, and that's obviously fishing at Lake Pleasant back in the day, and then. Fishing at Woods Canyon. That was kind of our summer vacation, was camping for 4 or 5 days up at Woods Canyon and getting out there and using some cowbells and doing some trolling for trout out there on Woods Canyon.
I'll tell you what, doing the bull elk hunt by yourself without a caller, that reduces your success rate substantially.
I would say 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
for my case.
Well, yeah. This time.
Yeah.
The success rate goes seriously dramatically down because I've found after all these years of doing it that 100 yards, that they kind of hang up on, if you have a caller who's 100 yards out, you're there.
Absolutely.
And that makes all the difference.
Yeah, I need to I need to get somebody that needs to come with me. I need to, because I like to pack in. I like to get as far away from everybody as I can. I found some really nice bulls this year in 4B, but there's that extra 20 yards that you just can't. No. You just can't close in on. That's where you need to have.
They didn't get to be that big.
Exactly.
By letting that 20 yards happen.
Yeah, I got to be less stubborn.
He's talking about taking you on a walk.
Actually, I was just thinking I'd volunteer to be. I mean, certainly I have had tremendous success calling.
Yeah.
If you need help on
this guy's okay. In all seriousness, we give him a bad rash every chance we get. He's an expert. He's one of the best.
Listen, I love archery hunting. I mean, getting that close to a nice bull. I don't care what size bull it is. Just an elk in general, that close. That is just. That is where the adrenaline, that's a serious adrenaline rush.
Yes, it is.
And being able to control your emotions and control your adrenaline as that bull's coming in is just a great feeling. I love it.
There you go, JK.
It smells good.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things, that's one of the ways I always know how close we are.
Yes.
When I can smell them, then I know, and I'm
down I agree.
Yeah,
I
know you're there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I love doing that stuff.
Things that make you go, woo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the morning rush.
Good stuff.
Nothing better.
So do you do any turkey hunting, javelina, any other things?
Yeah, I like to do over-the-counter javelina archery in January. Sure. I always think that's just a great time to go.
There's another candidate for McDowell Mountain.
Well, that's kind of
McDowell Sonoran Preserve.
Yes, I'm not going to say anything. I've heard of that.
We've got to run a battle with, let's say, the local residents.
Well, I'm sure you probably do. And listen, I think there's enough room for ethical hunters and what's happening everywhere. You know, I think that there's some positives and negatives. I mean, but listen, I grew up here. Hunting's in my blood. I've passed it down to my son, who obviously he's off in school right now. He's in college, but he'd be back this year, and he's excited about getting back here and hearing about my hunts, and he's ready to get back and start doing that. You know, right. I mean, you know, just having that experience, you know, when he shot his first coos deer, you know, and packing in and camping out and being away from everybody, and then, you know, teaching him, you know, hey, patience is a good thing, because, you know, we were on his very first coos deer hunt. Well, it wasn't his first; it was his second or third. But we had come on some really nice coos deer, and I said, Jeremy, you just got to be patient. And I said, we'll see him again tomorrow. And the next morning, we went back to the same area, did some glassing, found him. We saw him moving, and of course, the first 3-by that turned around the corner, you know, he's like, I'm going to take him. I said, Jeremy, just be patient. They're going to the big one's coming. And of course, he said, no, I said, it's your tag. Go ahead and take it. He took it, you know, nice shot, clean kill, and we're down there field dressing it out. And of course, he looks over, and
there it is.
About 200 yards away, there's that big 100 plus class buck. Nice. And he said, well, Dad, I guess you're right. Patience. But I said, hey, you know, you gotta, but I think he wanted to get his first deer. So
everybody needs that first one under their belt. Then they become much better hunters.
Absolutely. That's what I've noticed. Yeah.
The selectivity base goes off the charts after the first one.
Yes. Yeah. He was tired of getting shut out. All of his friends had been filling their tags, and I think he just wanted to get his first buck. So
got to do it.
There is ego tied into that. I guarantee.
Well, there is. Look at that raghorn I shot year before last.
Yeah.
I was embarrassed till I started. It's a barbecue grill.
Well, I was going to say, you had some backstrap, right, and some tendon
horns.
Well,
absolutely,
and
but
else.
I could only hang 3 hats on one side because they only had one horn.
That's all right.
Let's just say.
I think the meat probably tastes the same.
It was excellent.
Yeah.
It was most excellent. Have you done any hunting?
I have not. No.
We have.
He is about to become inducted.
Have Alina tags. Put this on your calendar, and I don't want to hear you have a drill weekend, because it will be a drill weekend with Scott Corcoran up in 20C.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have some fun. I've got an archery tag starting January 1st, Unit 21.
Yeah, boy.
New River, Jimmy Unnock's backyard.
Have you been over to see the new Martin archery equipment over at Joy's?
I have not yet.
It'll make you drill 345 feet a second stock out of the box
that fast
before you start messing with it.
Boy, is that lickety-split.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, when we come back, we're going to do a little fishing here with our master rod builder, James Guggenauer, from Rim Country Custom Rods, downtown Payson. I am Don McDowell, and you are?
Specialist Fritz.
I'm Command Sergeant Major Denton.
Special K.
Come on, let's have the rest of it.
The United Hungarian Gypsy Federation. Hide your chickens and your children when I come around.
Well, the morning's kind of damp. I'm not worried about cutting the grass. Left my truck at the boat ramp, and my boat is full of gas. My old boss thinks I'm sick today. He won't have me to harass, 'cause I'm out here on the river, and he can kiss my big old bass, kiss my bass.
That can mean only one thing, our master rod builder, James Guggenauer. Brother James, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, good morning, Don, from the frozen north.
I was going to say weather's always nice, but you know what? I'll let you have it right now.
Yeah, with the rain and snow yesterday, it actually snowed in Payson for about a half hour yesterday. Nothing stuck, but we definitely got snow up on the rim, and I was looking at the Madazelle Mountains this morning through the spotting scope, and it looks like they got a good dusting of snow up towards the top. So, all good news, because when that snow melts, that most of that ends up in Roosevelt Lake at some point. So,
yeah, man, we need a healthy snowpack this year, and talking with the folks at NOAA, I believe we're going to see a little bit more than what they had previously predicted in third quarter. But hey, before we get going, we've got a couple soldiers in here. I need to ask you how nephew Nate's doing.
Nate's doing well. Back from Afghanistan. He's been back just over a year. November 22nd was his return date from 9-month deployment.
Oh, cool.
Over in Kabul. He's a medic, and back to Fort Stewart and continuing with that. So we're happy to have him home. And a couple issues. That PTSD is a bad thing for a lot of soldiers, so he's struggling with that a little bit.
Yikes.
But we're still glad to have him home.
Okay, is he going to be able to make it to Arizona, come down and be on the show?
We're talking to him about coming home at Christmas time. We hope he can make the trip home, and I've talked to him about that, and he's absolutely, if he's here, he'll be there.
Outstanding. Good stuff. What's on the fishing report this week?
Fishing report at Roosevelt Lake is called Fair to Good. And, Don, you're going to smile when you hear this, because when the guy told me, I was thinking of you immediately.
Uh-oh.
Talking to a couple of guys down at Tunnel Basin, they said bass are still feeding heavily on shad. A lot going on. Reaction baits, crankbaits, we've been talking about that for a couple of weeks. But this week, and here's where Don McDowell comes in, rattle traps.
Uh-oh.
Rattle traps in a chrome color with a black or blue accent.
Bingo. Yes, yes, yes.
And so I was smiling. The guy said, "What are you smiling about?" And I said, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So, but shallow. These fish are being caught mostly in the afternoon when the water's a little bit warmer. In the shallow water, shallow being less than 5 feet. And literally, these guys are putting them right on the shore in 1 foot of water and just a slow retrieve back till they get a little bit deeper.
Slow retrieve?
Slow retrieve to get it into a little deeper water. So you start not getting hung up when you bring it back out of the shallows. But enough to keep it swimming, and then as you get a little bit deeper, start cranking it. But and I look back at some other reports that we did, and you and I, Don, have been talking about rattle traps this time of year for about 2 years now.
I'm telling you, it's just like clockwork.
Yep. The other technique that's using is flipping and pitching. Now, a lot of this is because there's a good flow of water coming in from the salt end. A lot of guys are up there close to the stick-ups that they have around Campaign Bay, up there by Vineyard Ramp, and doing a lot of flipping and pitching in there with jigs.
Is there any report on the Sally Mae getting back in there and some of that those stick-ups way back in the back?
Same thing. Nobody mentioned that specifically, but yeah, it's the same type configuration. You're in pretty shallow water back there.
Yep.
But the fish are tight to those stick-ups, tight to the stick-ups. Mm-hmm. So it's been a pretty good week. So I called Kurt Rambo's one of the crappie fishermen at Tonto Basin. He's a retired guide up there, but I like calling Kurt to get his input. And I called him on Friday, and sure enough, he was out on the water fishing. So he said that on Friday, anyway, crappie fishing was excellent. He said that they had about 10 in the boat, and they had been there about an hour, and they were fishing in 25 to 35 feet of water.
Yeah, I was going to ask how deep. Yep.
And always at a rock pile or a brush. He said if you're not fishing some type of structure or cover, crappie will not be there this time of year. So small jigs, either a little 2-inch curly tail, or Kurt's a big fan of a bait called a little fishy, which is a little minnow imitation-looking bait.
Yeah, that sounds like something you'd buy at Michael's or Steinmart, little fishy. Okay.
But he was doing well on Friday, so I'm sure that once we get the word out, there'll be a lot more people out there fishing crappie this week.
James, let me ask you, apparently we're getting quite a bit of flow in the salt and on the tunnel side. What's the current level of the Mother Lake?
Yeah, for the last 2 months we've been stuck at this 40% level, and with the increased flows the last couple of weeks, we moved up 1% last week. We're now at 41%. And I was just checking earlier this morning, and there's still really good flows coming in on the salt end. And the Tonto, for this time of year, it's even flowing heavier. So, it's up around like 200 cubic feet per second coming in on the salt end, and that's a pretty good flow. The downside of that is the water's still, from the last storm, it was really stained and then started to clear up. Well, that stain is coming back into the lake. And so, guys are saying that if you want clear water, you're going to fish down around the dam. if you like that stained water, which a lot of guys who flip and pitch, you know.
Oh yeah, you can make friends with that and just wow, do really
they're
well.
more up on the salt end. But the water temperature in the lake keeps coming down. Now it is in the high 50s in the morning, and it is getting to just slightly above 60 degrees. I mean, like 60.5 degrees at the peak of the afternoon. So overall, the trend of the water temperature is down for Roosevelt.
Yeah, it's going to be couple more weeks. We all joke about hitting 70 miles an hour on Roosevelt or Apache Lake in January, and it's just man, it's like driving a stake in your forehead.
I ask people, do you want to go fast and get it over with, or do you want to go slow and not quite freeze as hard?
Nah, man, you know me, push on the gas and fly right by. Let's go.
Most people say, let's get it over with.
Yep, let's do it. There's just something about bass boat drivers, it just can't help themselves.
No, based on the way I've seen you drive yours, yeah, I know that.
Yeah, whatever.
Strap in and shut up. That's what
right.
I do.
Yeah, we have well, I introduced you to the handle, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, back to you, James, quickly.
Okay. Hey, trout fishing, we're just about done on the rim. When you start getting snow up there, things start to slow down, and we start to talk about lakes that are getting frozen over, roads that are being closed. But there's still some lower level lakes that are going to be some good fishing for the next couple of weeks. 12 to 14-inch rainbow stock trout is a good dinner. It's a good lunch. The most popular baits this time of year are power baits, and probably in this order, too. Power baits, salmon eggs, and small spinner baits like a Metz and a size 0.
Yep.
A size 0, how do you cast that?
Carefully.
Yeah. It's like a woolly bugger at the end of your line trying to cast it. It's that light.
Here's how you cast those, and this is unique, and a lot of people have these questions. You need a specialized fishing rod for that.
Oh, here we go.
Ooh.
Like a 5 foot 6 inch ultralight fishing rod. And if you're casting a 2 to 4 pound test line, you'll be amazed at how far you can throw some of these.
Now, are you going to recommend any particular brand?
Well, there are some custom ones that get built by a guy up in Payson.
I've heard that.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, he makes the finest rods.
This is where you go from an ugly stick to a beauty stick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, one more thing before I let you go, Don. I want to remind all our listeners that the 5th meeting of the Gila County Roundtable with the Arizona Game and Fish to discuss the gizzard shad issue and the restocking of Roosevelt Lake is going to be held on December 18th at 6 p.m. at the Tonto Basin Chamber of Commerce building. And
okay, we're back to there instead of the school.
Right, not the school this time, back to the chamber building. And that is right across the street from the Bishop Realty office, or where the tackle box is. Most people know that.
Yep.
So right across the street from that little building is the Commerce building, and you'll see lots of game and fish vehicles out there. But Chief Cantrell is going to talk about the stocking program that we're planning for the springtime to put Florida strain bass in there. And then Kurt Gill is going to be telling us about the overall health of the lake and some of the plans they have for understanding the gizzard shad better.
Sounds good. We will be there. JK, you want to ride along?
What night?
The 18th. What day is that? Thursday?
That's this coming Thursday. I've got family coming, and we'll see.
Oh, that's a good excuse.
Thank you.
We'll see you there.
All right, yeah, I'll be there as usual. Save me a parking spot. James, thank you very much. Hey, guys, if you need a custom rod for Christmas, it's still a little bit of time left. Rim Country Custom Rods, man, it's the best. I'm Don McDowell.
Special K.
Command Sergeant Major Denton.
Specialist Fritz.
And we'll be right back.
I planned a hunting trip next week on your birthday. I didn't ask you, but I knew it'd be okay. Go make some dinner while I watch this fishing show. I taped it over our old wedding video. If you're a man who done that, a long and happy life, live all the pursuits.
Yeah, man, that's some good stuff, Jennifer. Thank you for that. Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah, CCR time.
Yeah, boy. I want to thank you guys for coming down. You guys don't get a lot of time off and burn a Sunday morning. I hope you have a pleasant day, and there's not a weed eater in the afternoon for you.
There's not one in my future, I can assure you.
Good
that.
deal.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
All righty. Anything else you want to add on behalf of yourself or the National Guard?
Well, obviously, I want to say thanks to all the soldiers out there. All the soldiers that are, whether they're in my battalion or any battalion out there, thanks to all the soldiers and the airmen, any service member who has served or is currently serving, I appreciate their support.
Well, all the other guys support the 158. So
absolutely.
I get that.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's just, we're a little biased, but I just want to say, thanks to the community. I mean, I also want to kind of just talk about quickly the history of the 158th Infantry and where it's going. We have the Fort Tut Hill Military History Museum, which is up in Flagstaff, which is now on the current fairgrounds. It's going through a remodeling phase, but Jim Warbass has been somebody who was a Bushmaster, and him and his volunteers, Marilyn and Mike, they spent a lot of time working to preserve the history of not only the 158th Infantry Regiment, but also just the military in general. They get stuff sent from all over the country, things from World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, where they would like to have them displayed because they've come by and seen the museum there at Fort Tut Hill at one time or another, and they don't know what to do with an item or an artifact, and they send it to the museum and have them display it. But right now they're in a remodeling process where they're trying to reopen at least one of the buildings by May of 2015. So I would just say any support, and again, it's not always monetary support, but just basically if there's anybody out there who would like to help out and volunteer to help maintain the history of the Arizona Army National Guard and specifically the 158th Regimental Combat Team, to let us know and to get on their website at the Fort Tut Hill Military History Museum.
Well, we have the president of the ADA here. Can we have a conservation project up there?
We could. There's
Steaks,
real
hot
possibilities.
dogs, stuff like that.
Yeah. I know people who will cook the hot dogs.
Pound nails and
wipe
on paint.
Paint is easy for me.
Yeah, I'm good at that too. Like I've told Jim in the past, when you need physical labor done, give me a call and I'll get plenty of guys who go up and do physical labor. But don't ask me to do anything that's too technical. If you want something moved from point A to point B, I can do that.
Or destroyed overnight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go.
He looked right at me when he said that. Point A to point B. I was like,
oh yeah. Yeah, it's just great to have you guys down here, and again, anything we can do to support the 158 specifically or the Guard in general, we're all in.
Yeah, no, we had talked about. We have a lot of hunters, fishers, guys who like to fish, hunt, hike, camp. Again, we're a cross section of Arizona. I would love to put something together and I'll have us all work together, not only to help you guys out, but for you guys to also recognize soldiers. We have so many soldiers who have done multiple deployments, and these are true heroes. These are guys who've spent
experts in hunting and camping.
Absolutely, yes, man. That's correct. I mean, the military has helped me out a lot when it comes to my outdoor skills.
Oh, absolutely, it does.
No question.
I know one thing right now. There's no animal that I'm aware of that's out there to actually get me in the woods. So I feel pretty comfortable by myself.
I want you to go with me on Wednesday. I have a little box canyon up here that's got what would you say that bear is, like 350?
Easy. Yeah, I've seen the size of the droppings and the footprints.
Right.
Yeah.
11 inches long footprints.
He will eat you back.
Yes, he will.
Well, I just got to outrun you. No,
there you go.
That won't be hard to do.
With his knees, that's a piece of cake.
Oh yeah. That's why I've been training on laying down cover fire and calling in air support. So. I learned that from Jason.
It's never a bad skill to have.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's good. And anything we can do for you?
I actually just want to thank you for having us out, and
you
thank
guys
your
were
wife
awesome.
Jan for the cookies, the box cookies. Jan, thank you.
That was a cookie fairy.
No, it wasn't. I know that woman. Only that woman could put this together. She's awesome.
I heard a
When's
lot of
the
prep time.
next ADA meeting?
January 3rd, Tuesday in January. And by the way, I want to give a shout out to Jeff Page today. He's a buddy of mine. He did a bucket list item, which was to arrow and harvest a mountain lion archery.
That's outstanding.
That's so
It is.
rare.
That's serious bucket list stuff there.
Oh yeah.
That's not on my bucket list.
Oh, for archery hunters, that's way up there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, my hat's off to him.
Yeah, he got lucky, but he was good. It was a nice combination. You have to be lucky to get that close to shoot archery on mountain lion. And I'm not telling where. Sorry.
Yeah, Don always. I've noticed that Don was kind of.
What? I can see the. Where was that? No, not happening.
Yeah, talking with the command sergeant
It was in
major,
the
he
woods.
goes, I'm not telling you it's classified. It's on a need-to-know basis. Quite frankly, you don't need
to know. Yeah.
I get it.
Mine's
I get
easy.
it.
He was in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in Arizona.
Yeah,
Somewhere in
we-
Arizona.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've got a computer program. My ops manager's got a little chip we put on the underneath side of your bumper.
Oh, do
we
you?
can track you anywhere.
Good luck on my Prius.
Well, if you want to come walk in there and
Yeah,
come back in,
be
I
our
have no
guest.
problem with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's only 8 to 10 miles. It'll be okay.
Perfect.
Uphill both ways.
That's right.
Take about a week.
You couldn't carry enough water.
No, I'll tell you, it's all good. Well, once again, thank you guys for your service. You guys are awesome, and we look forward to doing some stuff with your group and your soldiers, and I can smell a couple of fishing trips.
Well, that'd be great.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. We're already working on that, and John, I was bold enough to challenge Command Sergeant Major and his snipers to a 1,000-meter shoot up at Ben Avery at the new.
Not against you, pray tell.
I'll shoot.
At 1,000 yards, you can't see that far.
Yes, I can. And I went over to talk. He was telling me they're changing over 300 Win mags, and I'm thinking, look out, mountain. Joey, you got a 300 Win mag? Look at me. He goes, come on down.
Oh, my guys would love it.
We're in.
All right, let's find a way to
Whoa,
make
whoa,
this
whoa,
out.
what's this
now,
wheat
I
crap?
gotta have a caveat here. It's got to be legal. Okay, I have to put a training aspect on it, but my guys would love to incorporate some training out to it because they don't get to shoot 1,000-meter targets that often. So I'd love to find a way to work
Here's
that
where
out.
we're going to screw you up. We're going to have a replica of an antelope being pulled at 45 miles an hour at 1,000 meters.
Okay, well, that's also good training, okay, because a moving target is something that could be training. But, yeah, let's find a way to work this out and see if we can make it happen. I mean, my guys would love – they're all in as long as we can make it work.
JK, there's a challenge on the table. We need to get a hold of Antelope Foundation.
Yeah, it's big time.
All right, hey, guys, thanks for listening. I hope you learned something about the Arizona National Guard in 158. I am Don McDowell, and
Special K.
Command Sergeant Major Denton.
Specialist Fritz.
thank you guys for coming down. Hey, take your kids fishing, hug your bass boat.
Kids to watch me by.